Did you do any preparation specifically for your disability before you went abroad?
Yeah. So I decided that I wanted to try to go to therapy before moving abroad because, like I mentioned, like one of my biggest challenges is coping with change. So seeing as like, moving abroad is really like a big change. I was like, maybe I should like get some help before I go, or like have some tools that I could use to
Mhm.
like stay grounded if I was ever in a situation where it was like too much to handle.
Mhm.
So I attended therapy for like about a year before leaving, and the therapist, she was a psychologist, and she was aware that I was going to leave, by the end of that year. So she was like really helpful in like teaching me um, self-sustaining ways of being better and understanding myself better and just like listening to myself and like using the correct words to refer to if I ever needed help,
Mhm.
things like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, like therapy was really difficult. Like it's really hard to just like open up to someone. So like most of
Definitely.
the time it was just like you get to therapy and you sit down and you like cry for an hour. Like that was like the first few therapy sessions. And so eventually, I asked her like, can we do this like a two-way street? Because I feel like if I'm only talking about like my problems, I'm just gonna be here like crying all day for like the whole hour. So I'd rather like it would be better for me if it was more like a conversation
Mhm.
than just like pouring out, because then it's just gonna pour out and it's not gonna stop. It's really good to have like at least to at least try um, therapy, even if you're okay, even if you think that like you don't need help. It's good to have because they have the words, they have the words,
Mhm.
the words that you can use to express yourself with. And it makes it easier to understand like and sort of come to terms with your feelings, whatever you're feeling. So that was really helpful to me because I didn't have the words um to explain what I was feeling. And then she would say like, oh, is it like this term? And I'd be like, that's it.
Where did you study, volunteer, or work abroad? For how long were you there? What was your experience like? And were the people around you aware of your disability and how did they react to it?
Um, so I'm from Montreal, Canada, and being from Canada, we have certain freedoms with like visas that are available to us from different countries. And I think in the U.S., like you guys have different visas for different countries.
Mhm.
Um, and so when I was so I went and got myself a 5 year, what are they called, no, like a 2 year, sorry, a 2 year youth mobility visa, and that basically allows you to go to a Commonwealth country and live and work there during the duration of your visa. And so I was able to pack my bags after a bit of work and go with like a minimal, amount of cushion money. So maybe not the best thing to do, but definitely I had a little bit on the side just in case. And then I went to the UK. So with the UK visa, you can basically go anywhere within England, Wales, Scotland, and the north of Ireland. So all of these options are available to you if you have a UK visa, which is great. So like that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go there, because there were so many options, and it's so big, and it's the same language that I'm familiar with. so so that's also helpful. So it's not too much of a cultural clash. Um, so so I used this program called Swap Working Holidays that helped me to gather all my documents. They basically tell you what to do and how to get that visa, and they help you. It's a little extra money, but it's very, very helpful if you're going on your own and you have nobody there on the other side to welcome you. So with that swap program, I was able to basically get in touch with their UK base, which is it's called Britbound. So Britbound, they basically welcome anybody with that kind of visa from all over the world. Excuse me. So there were like Germans, like New Zealanders, Australians, like all sorts of people, like under 31, I believe. 31 is the age limit for that visa. So they help you find a job. They help you find an apartment. They help you, get activities in the weekends. They help you. They had like Friday night drinks every week, which I didn't attend all of them because a bit much. But like it's really good to have like that kind of grounded, like sort of family environment, so that if you're ever stuck or if you need help or if you want to talk to someone who has been there longer than you, then you can like go to the office and like chill out for a second and just ask your questions. And they're also really helpful if for example you lose your passport, or if you don't have a place to stay, then they have like a library full of different apartments.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it was really, really helpful. Like I was so thankful that I found that that program, because I was like, I don't know anybody in the UK except for like someone in Sheffield, which is like in the north, and there's like nothing there. And they weren't even gonna stay there a long time. So I really had to like figure out on my own how to have help and how to be sure that I wasn't completely alone. Mm-hmm. So that was really helpful. Yeah. What was the other question?
I think you said how long you stayed. You got like
Perfect.
Were the people around you aware of your disability, and how did they react to it?
Mostly no, just because like when I left, I didn't really think too much about it. I did not consider it to be too much of a disability, just because I'd been like so sheltered my whole life. So like I didn't really have the experiences where it would be like debilitating. However, when I did get there, like from the first time that I got on a plane, I was like, oh no, here it is. This is it. And then it sort of like all comes down at you, and you're like, okay, now I understand what this means as a person on the autism spectrum. Like, this is how different my life is compared to everyone else who seems to be having a great old time on this horrible plane. Oh God. Yeah, most of the time people did not know, until I started to be like more open about it and more like, actually it's really cool that I have this opportunity as a person on the spectrum, because like nobody does this, because either the parents are too attached and they don't want their kids to risk being hurt, or they don't know anything else, or they just like they're terrified, and I was terrified. So it was really, really like life-changing experience, and just realizing like how intensely privileged that I felt being able to do that as someone on the spectrum. Like that's crazy. So eventually, like I did feel more comfortable talking about it, and people would be like surprised when they learned, or they didn't believe you, or like mixed reactions. Like the worst ones were really just like that they didn't believe me. So like whenever like bad things would happen, they would just be like, like calm down, like it's not that bad or whatever. So it was difficult, especially like having to tell people at work. That was also difficult, because you have to find a good compromise. Like you don't want them to think that it's a weakness, but you also want them to understand that you have needs and you have that you need accommodations for certain situations, and you don't want them to think that you're using it as an excuse either. Like that's the worst possible outcome. That like, well, we can't change the position for you. We can't, things like that. I've had those kinds of reactions where uh, all of my responsibilities were just like taken down like several notches. So at work they would be like, oh, you know what, you don't have to do that, you can just like stay here and do like whatever you were doing, even though I was ready, like emotionally. I was prepared to go and do whatever else the team was about to do. But they'd be like, oh, you know what, Bridget, it's okay, you can like skip this one, you can just like settle down. And I'll just be like, I'm not less intelligent, like I'm not less capable. I like a challenge, I like being given those challenges, even though I might not be able to do them fully. Like I still like trying. so um, so mixed reactions, things like that.